Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Anvesha Pandey, Deputy Director at Nat Health, and I'm extremely delighted to welcome you all for today's session of the Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission webinar series, organized by Nat Health in collaboration with National Health Authority. Every week, we have an eminent speaker come on this platform and share their insights on one particular aspect of ABDM. And today, we will be discussing the role of insurance under ABDM with our eminent speaker, Ms. Malti Jaiswal, who's an advisor at NHA and is also a senior consultant with World Bank. She's a postgraduate from Delhi University and has worked with general insurance industry since 1986 and with health insurance industry since 2008 in various leadership roles. She's a member of the industry multi-stakeholder working group committees on health insurance and has published many papers and developed a certification course on health insurance for Insurance Institute of India. She's also a member of the IRDAI Health Forum and has also led to IRDA NHA joint working group on fraud and abuse control. A very warm welcome to you, ma'am. And we also have with us Mr. Amitabh Jain, Head of Health Insurance at ICICI Lombard, which is the largest private sector general insurance company in India. He has over 22 years of experience in the ICICI group, and he was also the part of the startup team at ICICI Lombard since in 2001, and has since then led various teams to grow the business into market and leadership position. He has led leadership roles in motor and health underwriting, claims, and product development. He has successfully led various sales functions in motor, bank assurance, retail, and risk over the last 20 years. He has been instrumental in conceptualizing and implementing digital health and wellness services through the company's unique app, I'll Take Care. And I request now both of you, Mr. Jain and Ms. Jaiswal, to take this discussion forward. Sir, you are on mute, Mr. Jain.
Sorry. Thank you, Anvesha, for the kind words and the introduction. I would not take any further time and request Ma'am Jaiswal to take it from here and take us through the entire initiative around the Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission. And once he takes us through that, it'll be my pleasure to interact with her and also, kind of take our viewers' question and some of the questions that we've already received. So over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, Natal team and Amitabh for giving me this opportunity to interact with you and share some of the perspective on ABDM, Ayushman Bharat Digital Health Mission. It is my privilege to share whatever. Honestly, I'm more from the insurance perspective, but I will try to give the perspective of ABDM to the best of my capacity. My colleague Costa from NHA is also with me, who is also supporting the ABDM team on the capacity building side. Just to set the context, I would like to give a very short presentation, a very brief presentation, because everyone may not be familiar with what is ABDM and how it impacts us as a person, as an individual, as a doctor, as a hospital, and what it can do for the insurance industry. So we would just run through this very short presentation, and it should not take more than 20 minutes or so. Yes, next please. So so basically, what is it that why did the government think of bringing ABDM? What is it that we are trying to solve here? We are just one second. So what the mission is trying to address, is that citizens today do not have access to all medical records, and we know that as we are progressing more towards lifestyle diseases and chronic ailments, having the previous health records is a really critical area. Information about doctors, hospitals, and labs, we of course consult the family physician or the or the doctors whom our friends and family are seeing, But if we had, digitally verified information of all at one place, knowledge and qualification about doctors, we are, in India, it is said that, that there are many quacks, or, quacks who are, posing as doctors and then treating patients, which could be leading to patient harm also. And the choice to consult doctors, remotely in a uniform manner. We do have telemedicine platforms that came up during COVID era, but a standardized platform, which is, interoperable, is still not there. And hospitals, doctors, and labs on the provider side, they don't have access to a patient's medical history. If I go to Max and I've been there earlier, they may pull out my data, from the previous interaction. But if I've gone to another hospital, they would not be able to do so. They would also be able to, if they had this, they also, the follow-up treatment, it's much easier to follow through digital mechanisms, and possibility to, consult patients remotely, and ease of doing business. So they currently don't have, and this is the issue which the ABDM mission is trying to solve for the doctors. Now for the policy makers, that they don't have, presently we are such a large country, and state is health is a state subject, and then there are multiple states at various, various levels of IT integration and, digitalization. So there is not sufficient information about, pan India level on what are the disease, what you call disease mapping or disease burden across India for different ailments, and how we can prevent that, from escalating. If you see that, dialysis impact has gone up so much, dialysis has gone so much in last few years. And if we knew that, if the progression of diabetic, if that can be managed, and, we have some, mapping of those diseases on a pan India level, it will be making the task of policymakers very effective. And that of course will help us in, complete monitoring and control in a unified manner. So these are some of the high level, macro level issues, problems that ABDM is intending to solve. Now, how is it going to do this? So what are the core constructs of ABDM? Next, please. So there are core building blocks. The whole construct of ABDM resides on three core constructs, three core blocks, on which the whole building is being built up. One is the health ID, which is a, verified 14-digit. It's a random 14-digit number generated by the system, which is currently, which will be generated if I opt for a health ID. And I could also opt for a PHR ID, and which will be my name at so and so. That would be, these are the, health ID is a core, and PHR is when I want to store my records. Then healthcare professionals registry, healthcare, all the healthcare professionals, of different stream of medicine. It's not just the modern medicine only, the Ayush and traditional medicines also, the registries are separate, of course, but they would be managed and they would be authenticated by their respective medical councils. So once you know that a doctor is writing, some, qualifications, that, and on the ABDM, it will be a verified qualification. And then the health facility registry, often a question comes, how many hospitals are there in India? How many nursing homes are there? How many places have, tertiary care facility? What are the, secondary care level facilities? Where are they, located? Of course, there have been, many attempts in making, health. NHR has, created a registry of hospitals, but that is not, I think what is being attempted here is a uniform across India with a 12-digit number generated for healthcare facilities, in a very robust manner, across India in a uniform manner. So these are the three core constructs, core building blocks rather, on which the whole ABDM platform is being created. Next, please. Now, having created these building blocks, naturally they are going to interact with each other when they're treating a patient. Like, of course, the whole edifice is to digitize the health records, the health transactions, the interactions that happen, have the data retrievable, have the data stored in a secure, confidential manner. So this is I think I wouldn't go into this, this will be getting a little, technical, as well as it will take time. But just to say that the whole platform is, that health information exchange is like a super highway on which everyone is traveling and transacting seamlessly, without any glitch, with the confidentiality and the data security taken care of, and standard data is being exchanged between all the entities. It is being transacted across this ecosystem, taking care of all the policies that are there of confidentiality of data or IT Security Act, whatever security features need to be put in a standardized manner. Next, please. Now we come to that how this ABDM mission is going to help the insurance industry. How it would help in driving efficiency. We, in our perspective, when ABDM team has been sitting, and discussing. So from their perspective, from our perspective, these are 3 or 4 scenarios, but I'm sure there are many more scenarios. Next, please. So I think first would be that how do we derive the efficiency in the whole life cycle of an insurance customer. You see, if we look at it, there would be onboarding of a customer. Then there is an onboarding of a customer which is relating to creating underwriting and risk assessment score. So if you have health ID, if you already have previous record, then that makes the underwriter's task very easy, and you don't need to have pre-policy medical examination. That would make the task very easy, and the risk would be rated properly, and the underwriting can be done properly. Because one of the huge issues of the insurance industry has been it is non-disclosure, non-disclosure of pre-existing conditions. So this kind of strengthens the actuarial, and it will eventually help the insurance companies in strengthening their actuarial model and accurate underwriting and risk rating. Then if the health ID is done, then the half of the KYC job is already done. So you don't need a lot of KYC documents that you require, because there is a health ID backed by which is verified through another ID. So there is onboarding of the policy issuance can also become very easy. Third, and I think third is, if you ask me personally, third is where the insurance companies and the insured both would benefit the most, because it is the most, the proof of pie is in when the claim happens, how smooth the experience of the customer is, how smooth the pre-authorization or cashless treatment happens, or if it is not cashless, and how smooth the reimbursement happens. And for that, if there are like I mentioned, there is a information highway, health information exchange highway, on which the data is coming and going, and I am pulling the data whatever I need. I don't need to input the data. Once it is inputted in one system, be it the insurer system, be it the provider system, or be it by the policy holder, it just gets fetched by others in a very seamless manner, in a very digitally verified manner. And there are credentials and contracts, and then on that you could build a sophisticated claim adjudication engine also. So because we are mostly on a manual mode in the insurance industry as far as the claim processing. Of course, we are nowadays scanning the documents, and then from those scans, some data is being inputted, some data is being read while the claim is processed. So here you don't need scan documents, but you're actually getting the data which has been input by one system, that is fetched by the other system, and the whole transaction happens over that. Then of course the last one would be the managed care. You could evolve to managed care model, and the wellness programs. The wellness programs, a lot of insurance companies have invested a lot into wellness programs, I would say, these days. They would like the insured's health to be maintained properly, to be looked after, preventive care to happen. So if the wellness care is also onboarded with these longitudinal records, the policyholder benefits, because his record is being maintained. They can he or she can track his own progress on parameters. if they're deteriorating or if they're improving. And the insurance company can also see whether the wellness initiative or the investment that is going into wellness is actually helping in preventing claims and in maintaining good health. So this is the, optimizing the insurance life cycle in multiple ways, from underwriting to onboarding to claim to wellness. Next, please. So this is basically, a further explanation of, that how the Health ID and PHR will be, seamlessly done, and KYC and onboarding. See, it is just giving an example, like how the current process is that, the, policyholder or the proposer, gives the KYC documents, insurance company establishes identity through verification, then sharing of, non-standard health records happen, and then the premium is defined. In the new scenario that there is an automatic KYC, the medical records are linked to Health ID, are shared by the user. Of course, there is a user consent involved. Nothing is shared without the consent of the person concerned. If I am the user, if I am the person seeking a policy, I would have to give my consent. Yes, I give my consent to my records being made available to the insurance company. So you don't need another medical test, and you can have a rule-based, engines to determine that this is an underwriting risk, it's a normal risk, it's a, it's a decline risk, or it's a risk with, some conditions to be accepted, and the premium and coverage can be tailor-made. Right now in India, we don't have individual risk-rated policies. We have a, they are rated at a category level, but it could help us to do the individual risk rating also at the retail level. Next, please. So this is also, I mean, this another, that once a Health ID is created and the customer quotes it, then it is, it is always to be, utilized in all respects, not just not just at the time of onboarding of the policy is one, but it actually helps you in knowing the customer's progress over period of time as well. It's not just onboarding at the first time, but premium, rating for higher risk patients, engaging them with the, healthier lifestyles. It will help you, track that progress. Next, please. Benefits for the insured. So basically I spoke about, from the insurance company perspective. Now it's the benefits coming to the insured will be of like that of a citizen also. Like today also, if I have my health records, it definitely helps me to have my health records at click of a button. I go and consult any doctor. I don't need to be worried. I have to carry my this record, and I have to store those records in physical and then keep it tracked. As a citizen, I benefit. But if I'm a policy holder as well, what are the other conveniences that I get attached because I have an insurance policy also. It in case I want to port my policy, then of course it is a very easy job. I mean, it makes the seamless transition, of the records from one to the other. Is linking my ID. I doesn't have to remember many IDs. I mean, if I every time I go for a for a checkup, every time I go for a consultation, or God forbid hospitalized, if I provide my ID, everything gets linked, for me and for the insurance company as well. So there is no need for remembering multiple IDs, and the care continuum gets automatically built because we are developing the longitudinal health record storage, which is which is the ideal. Maybe we may not be able to do it from cradle to grave, but let's say at least from the time the policyholder is onboarded, at least from that time it can be ensured. And if my health is maintained well, I'm sure it will lead to reduction in policy premium for higher for better risk. And of course the insurance company can even further tailor make the chronic management disease programs and the wellness programs. So these are the benefits for the insured as well. Next, please. So another, this is the last slide, which is what is being created as a public good, as Health Claims Exchange is a platform that NHA will be developing. And it's like a clearing house for rule-based adjudication and processing of standardized e-claims. So there is a lot of non-standardization in the health insurance market, and more so in the case of claims, because each hospitals have their own way of records. There are no standard terms, there are no standard data points, and if so, this claim platform will be giving very standardized output, and it will require the input also in a standardized format. And you could deploy your auto adjudication engine, you could deploy your fraud prevention programs. So this is ABDM parallel to those registries and health IDs and PHRs. This is another public good which will be there in the public domain, built for the public. And of course it will help the insurers adopt e-claim, which is a I think we need to migrate from physical documents and paper-based processes to digital document, to digital processes. So e-standard claim, it will definitely be getting very easily incorporated. Digital contracts between payer and provider. Now every insurance company, every TPA have a contract with a hospital. Now look at the hospital, look at the insurance company. So if there were digital records which are there on the platform, and a provider is verified registry, verified through the registry, you can easily sign up with multiple providers in a very seamless fashion. And you can have a e-facility form is already there, and you can see whether that e-facility has what you're wanting to enroll, empanel in the hospital, and quickly empanel. So there is a high level of automation for for the onboarding of hospitals, for policy markup language. This is a term I used while interacting with the ABDM team. They call it policy markup language, what we call as policy terms and conditions. So that can also be, once this all this platform is there. So what is the copay, what is the waiting period, what is the limit of the room rent, what is sub limits. So these are all policy markup language. They can be built into the processes, and they can lead to further automation of the process. So basically it is creating a very robust infrastructure of a non-repudiable, not non-repudiable in the sense of claims repudiation, but non-repudiable information that is flowing, the data that is flowing, which is verified, which complies with the confidentiality guidelines, which has consent-based data sharing. So this is what it would be allowing the insurers, and the insurers would be free to use this infrastructure which is being created. Maybe pay as you use, some small minuscule percent, minuscule amount, pay as you use may be there, because of course somebody needs to maintain this infrastructure. But this is being created at a huge effort and expense by the NHA as a public good. So that's about all from my side on just an introductory presentation on the on the use cases of insurance that are applicable to the insurance policy holder and to the insurance companies. I would be now Amitabh, happy to take your questions and try to answer them. Yeah, thank you.
First of all, thanks, ma'am, for that brief but very, very lucid presentation on the key concepts and what the entire sort of the digital backbone, health backbone that the government is trying to create. It's obviously a very, very welcome and long-awaited move, by the industry, by everybody, for that matter. While the presentation kind of clarified a lot of questions and doubts, but still I would take up a few questions which have come up, and things that I think a lot of our viewers have posted in terms of queries. So I would divide it into three broad areas. One set of questions which are more related to the insurance part of it. Second, more in terms of the hospitals and the providers and the other facilities, part of it. And third is about, the the digital backbone itself as to what it can do, what it cannot, and what are the sort of current features and what can we expect going forward and so on. And then there are some miscellaneous questions. We'll see if we have time that we can take in the end. They are not directly related to this specific session, but they are bordering around the entire issue of health in India. So that we'll try and take if we get some time in the end. So first, I'll begin with some questions that have come on the insurance part of it, where a lot of people have asked about, what kind of coverages that insurance companies will be able to provide under ABDM, or what is getting automatically covered under ABDM, or do patients have to take a separate plan? So obviously, we know the answer, but it will be better to hear from you.
Yeah, of course. Yes. So I mean, ABDM is a platform for digital transactions relating to healthcare services. Okay. So it does not in any way, provide any benefits relating to insurance. That okay, I have my health ID. Okay, I get some free cover as such. As of now, I don't think NHA has offered any free cover, free insurance cover to people creating the health ID. So I think this is just it is to clarify that their insurance company can onboard any number of customers through any number of products using this platform, right? So there is no restriction on the what kind of products, insurance products, policies can be linked. Basically, insurance products, the different types of covers and policies. So there is no restriction on that. There is no restriction on that, and there is no free cover available that okay, ABDM is selling this type of covers. No, that is not like this. It is it is a platform for available to everyone who would like to make use of it, who would like to get a health ID created, who would like to link their policies, and who would like to store their records. As simple as that. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that clarifies it. Just to sort of add to that, since I represent the insurance industry, let me further sort of say that the platform will enable whatever the insurance companies have to offer. It's just that the insurers will have to build their own interface to be able to make use of this platform that the government is building. So once that happens, any policy, any coverage, any services that the insurer provides, the insured or the customers can avail of that. Another related question, ma'am, is how many insurance companies are on board with ABDM already?
So we had a presentation given to ABDM team had a presentation given to the General Insurance Council. Earlier, also insurance companies have been attending most of the webinars of ABDM team. And after this, I think this happened, maybe a couple of months ago or some 6-8 weeks ago. And after that, IRDA is also, we have also, run through the presentation to IRDA also. So almost all insurance companies are interested, and they are in different stages of integration. Some are ahead and some are, just starting, let's say. And some are thinking, okay, we should start, So it is... so it is in different stages. It would not be appropriate for me to name those companies like which are on which are in the very advanced stages of integration, but many of them have shown interest, and some of them are their IT teams are way ahead of others, I would say.
So we can in a summary say that insurance industry overall is keen to associate
Yes.
with this very, very important initiative. And I think it's also linked to how the hospitals and various providers sort of take this up, because ultimately when they take it up, then only the insurers can sort of provide their services around it. So that's something which I think is required for the insurers to be able to make full use of this and offer their services.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. Another related question on insurance is that, in the presentation, you spoke about, that if you have, once the health ID is created, then, that itself will suffice to sort of take care of the entire flow as far as an insurance claim is concerned. So would that mean that this particular ID will get in a way integrated to the policy number or the claim number of the insurer, uh, for that specific transaction, and therefore, even if a customer is not sort of remembering their policy number or claim number, it's okay once it's linked through the health ID.
Yes, I think basically health ID is, it will help. Let me expand the question a little more also. So health ID, if I use my health ID and I have multiple, policies, let's say top up policy also, a basic policy also, and a benefit policy also. So it will help in putting the claims in order in all these policies. So it will kind of seamlessly be able to share the documents with each of the policies that these are the documents. And of course, see, the health claims platform is not going to process the claim. It is going to make the data available in a seamless manner, because each insurance company and TPA have invested a lot into their own claim processing platforms, right? So there is a lot of intelligence that has gone into it. But what this platform will do is to make available everything to you at one place in a standard format. So your the IT system of the insurance company will do its bit, and the output will be out. So there will be no inputting of data, keying of data, and no non-standard documents. Standard documents will come through, etc. Like this. Yeah.
Yeah. And in fact, that is something that insurers will have to sort of ensure that they build the necessary web services or the required integration, so that their systems are able to seamlessly talk to the required services provided by ABDM, right?
Yes.
So that. So one linked question with that, ma'am, is that the health ID, as we understand right now, can be generated on the basis of a couple of parameters like your mobile number and a couple of other things. In which case, there is a concern in the industry that how does it remain unique? Because if it's not unique, it can lead to some challenges.
So presently, Kaustav, you want to answer that question?
Sure, ma'am. See, the health ID's uniqueness is based on the 14-digit uniquely generated number. These are totally random, and there is no logic behind various structures. Like there is in a credit card, so first 4 digits define the bank or the Visa or Mastercard, something like that. So 14-digit number is totally unique. Second, we are also providing an alternate version. Also, we can say it as an alias. It's called personal health record address, or PHR address. So what happens is, so for example, if I'm not able to remember my 14-digit address, similar to that, I can say my name is Kaustav. I can choose my name, and then after the health record storage provider, right now it is ABDM. So Kaustav@ABDM will be my virtual address, and this will be unique, just like an email ID. So if I log into Gmail and I try to create an email ID with the same username twice, it will say username already exists. The same happens with this also. It says username already exists. So the uniqueness is intact in that case.
So I think, Amitabh, to add to what Kaustav has said, it is, to answer your question, it is technically maybe possible to create another ID, number one. I think that is, unless we link it to Aadhaar or, some unique, it is possible. But what we assume is that there is nothing to be gained by creating multiple health IDs, right? So I think there is no incentive to create a multiple health ID, right? I would do that at my own detriment. Like how many records I will create parallelly in in various places. I mean, I would be kind of creating trouble for my own self if I create multiple health IDs. So there is a kind of an inbuilt disincentive not to make unique health ID. And that because Aadhaar cannot be made mandatory for anything else. I mean, for health ID, Aadhaar has certain mandate by the government, so it is not mandatory to link Aadhaar. But I'm sure people realize it that there is no point in, like, for example, if I'm trying to do a credit card transaction and I give a wrong credit card number, it doesn't take me anywhere. Right? So it is just like that there is the we are depending on people's understanding also, that it does not help them in any way. Yeah. But I'm sure as we make progress, though I cannot commit right now, and I'm not the right person also to to know all about it. But I'm sure as we go along, there would be certain features which would also kind of ensure that this already exists. There would be some features which would kind of dedupe from the system and also. Yeah.
Ma'am, one more thing to add. To reduce the duplicity of the content, see, for example, why will people create multiple IDs? So maybe to hide something, right, from the doctor, or to keep one of the a section of the medical records separate. That facility is already provided. So if a doctor wants a consent for a certain set of records, we can give it by selecting the set of records, and we also can uncheck the records that we don't want to show. That facility is already given. So that requirement is already met in this. So that duplicity should not happen in that case.
So if I want to hide certain records, I can do that even with one health ID, so to say, right? I have to give consent that you can access which records, which records the insurance company can access and which records insurance company may not access. And if I want to be clever, I could just do that. But I feel as we go along, maybe this will make it difficult to hide things. I mean, at some point of time there would be disconnects which will become very apparent. Today those disconnects don't become apparent because things are in physical world. I could just take away one paper, insert another paper, and things like this.
Yeah, in fact, that could be one of the concerns. So for insurance in particular, knowing the full history of a patient is sometimes very important for us to be able to underwrite effectively or to even manage claims much better. So this obviously the choice remains with the customer to be able to whatever consent they give in terms of what records to be shown. But at some time,
presently also we ultimately depend on a declaration by the insured, right? That I declare that I have declared, whatever, and there is a declaration, right? So that is, that still holds good because, digital platform is just a facilitator, it is not a substitute for my integrity, right? So my integrity depends on the way I conduct my, my own affairs. And for that, the declaration will be the good old mechanism, right?
And I think once people sort of get the get used to using this and get all the services along with it, I think people will get more and more comfortable to share information, and when they see all the benefits coming through, because it will also help facilitate straight through processing of a lot of simple claims, etc. And once people at large start viewing those benefits, I think their trust and their confidence on the system will grow, and I think people will be much more amenable to share their records and information.
Especially the small value OPD claims, teleconsultation, etc. They should happen seamlessly. Nobody should be spending time and money on an effort on those, right? Those should definitely happen seamlessly, in my view. If you ask me, that's the most low-hanging fruit, which is of benefit. Like as I understand, there would be telemedicine, there would be star rating of doctors, there will be rating of facility. So I could be I could be much more informed, like Swiggy and everyone offers rating of the provider, right? But and then I think now many of these Practo and all also started offering that comments of the patients on the doctors. So I think if there is a if there is a platform which is backed by Government of India, uniform to all, there is no private motive to it, right? So the trust of the people is far higher because there is no private motive in creating this platform and popularizing an ex-doctor or a Y doctor, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Regarding insurance, one last sort of question, ma'am, is that this still remains a voluntary activity on behalf of most of the providers and other stakeholders. So what role do you think can insurers play to incentivize this whole process as to how to make this more popular, or ensure that more and more providers and other stakeholders take part in this?
Yeah, I think so. I would say that maybe there is a 2 or 3 prong strategy that one could adopt. You know, going up to the mandatory. Let's say that mandatory is still a little distance away. One could start popularizing it with every communication to the customer. We can say that that health ID has been you can create your health ID, link it to your policy. It will benefit you like this at the time of renewal, at not just at the time of buying policies, at the time of renewal, at the time of claim, at the time of any interaction with the customer, this fact can be reiterated. And now the how you incentivize, like you can give this message, but people still don't adopt it. People because adoption of any change is difficult, right? It's not just this. I mean, so adoption of any change is difficult, to humans. So though we evolve very quickly from one to the other, but still we take time to adopt, at an individual level. So I would say that, after this messaging part, after this awareness part, should be the incentive part. Now, how do you build incentive? Do you give them incentive for for linking this by giving some discount on premium, or offering them some wellness benefit, or offering them some kind of an experience? Basically it can be monetary, it can be non-monetary, it can be an experience. So various ways, and that I would say would depend on individual insurance company, because how much you would like to promote this and how much this helps your business, as in your mindset, in your own mind, how you're able to kind of take the advantage of this. I think, I'm sure you would like to invest that much of incentive on on making it popular, making it adapted by the policy holders. Of course, ABDM team is very much aware that that insurance, the health insurance is still a cool product, but a lot of effort goes into selling a policy. So we do not want that there is no there should not be any hurdle, or there should be no kind of a it's not this should not create a kind of a step back for the insurance agent to clinch the deal, or online policy sale. ABDM team is very much aware of it. So that is why incentive would play a great part, Amitabh. If you ask me, adoption will happen on incentive. Lastly, we feel that we had a meeting with IRDO also. If the industry is convinced, and IRDA is convinced, and I think it is very much in the realm of health regulations to make such things mandatory also. It should be very much in the realm of regulator. If the industry writes to if the industry makes the regulator aware that what is that they would like to gain, what is it that they intend to gain by it, and why they are recommending making it mandatory, and how it may be done in a very seamless fashion, not to impact the sales part.
Yeah, I think that some of those can really be taken up by the council as well as the regulator to sort of
Yes.
promote this cause.
Yes.
Now we'll move to, ma'am, the hospitals and provider section. One of the questions that has come is that, how can hospitals or any other service provider for that matter integrate with ABDM with their already existing systems, and what kind of additional investment it may require from their side?
Yeah. So as I understand, I am not the technical resource of knowledgeable on this, but in my understanding, every hospital usually will have a HIMS, right? I mean, it will have some form of HIMS, let us say that it does have, there may be two category of hospitals, smaller ones which don't have an HIMS, and there are others which have an HIMS. Then it is basically linking the HIMS to ABDM, kind of a platform. It is, creating those linkages. And as I understand, those are not very difficult to create. I was told by the technical team of ABDM that maybe, it may take 1 or 2 months for a very large hospital, and an effort of couple of developers, 2 or 3 developers. That's about it. That's about the expense, and then if a hospital does not have an HIMS, it would definitely need an HIMS. And I may share, that ABDM team is also trying to develop a very base level HIMS, which will be made free available, I think, in a few months' time to the hospitals which do not have an HIMS, because that is the base that you require, on which you can, build, you can link the ABDM layer. So that would be the case. And on an ongoing basis, let's say that is one-time effort of couple of developers, 1 or 2 months. And on on-time basis, it will be on ongoing basis, it will be the storage expense, right? Because the records in ABDM are not going to be retained by NHA or any central authority. They are going to reside where the record is created and used, right? So the hospital which is generating the record will need to store those records, just like they do physical records. Like they have a physical MRD department, they would have a physical storage, virtual cloud storage or something, that expense relating to that. Yeah. Now it would depend, how much would depend on the size of the hospital. Like, how many clients and how many records are being uploaded. Yeah.
And will there be some way the government sort of incentivize this for the hospitals to take up? Because some of the, say, rural areas or places which are, or maybe the secondary or primary setups, they might not have the financial wherewithal, or they might try to sort of charge this to the customers in the end, so or the patients. So to that end, is there some government policy? I mean, you said that government itself will be coming out with a base level system which could be made available.
HIMS, yes. HIMS, I'm aware of it, that HIMS, they would be coming up with a, basic version as a free service. But I'm not aware of other incentives that are being thought of. Honestly, I would not be the right person to comment, as I do not know about it.
Okay. And similarly, I mean, just like hospitals, any other setup can also do the same. So say, for example, a diagnostics company or a pharma setup or a pharma distributor, they can also have a similar approach, right?
Yes, absolutely. I think for the provider side, there are many types of providers, like, hospitals, dentists, maternity homes, nursing homes, pharmacy, lab reports, polyclinics. So all of them can actually adopt it. There is absolutely nothing stopping them from them. In fact, that is the whole idea, that everyone in the ecosystem should adopt it, so that, if you ask me personally, it's a huge leap for a country like us to attempt this even, I don't think even many developed countries have attempted what we are trying to do here. So I think it's a huge leap, and maybe, sometimes, laggards have an advantage of taking many steps together to catch up, right? So I think maybe in this ABDM, we have taken many steps together to, to be rather not catch up, to be ahead of, many of the developed countries as far as the health records are concerned, digital health is concerned. Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, we've seen that happen with mobile, right? We could leapfrog a whole generation of telecommunication and straight go to mobiles because we entered late. And I think the same can happen here. I mean, leapfrogging can happen here big time.
Absolutely.
Because we can actually go to the latest technology for some of this, which is much more cost effective and yet much more pervasive and democratic in its approach. So I think that's the way forward. Obviously,
most Indians, to your mobile example, most Indians did not have a landline, and from which they progressed to mobile. They straight away jumped to mobile, whereas rest of the world progressed from landline to a mobile, right? So I think we would
various stages of mobile. So
yes.
And we kind of went to some of the latest stuff directly.
Yeah.
linked question, ma'am, would be that internet connectivity also would play a role in some of this. So, in the rural areas, could that be a hindrance for this to get adapted?
So I think ABDM team is very conscious of it, that they should not end up having a digital divide. You know, that there is always a talk about digital divide. So it's going to be a very inclusive, platform in that sense. And they are working on, offline model as well, so that you could create a health ID offline, you could create a health record offline and upload when the internet is available. There are two or three, like one, there are, I think, internet is intermittent, let us say, right? I think today's, if you look at the videos being uploaded on TikTok and Reel, I think every village has internet, right? Because they're able to upload the videos. But
Absolutely.
it may not be steady internet. It may be sometime available, sometime patchy. So I think then offline model is also there, and I believe there is another third, I think, which is a kind of I'm not able to recollect the name. There's a kind of a paper based converted to digital. I think that also kind of a, particularly like if there is for health ID creation, it could be a paper form, then which gets converted to a health ID, because with some basic information being there. Yeah, but it is I think the policy makers are very aware of the, realities of, various landscapes in India, be it digital literacy, be it internet, be it any other facility. Like, we are not one country in that sense. We are multiple countries in one country with multiple levels of development, multiple levels of various indices we are. Yeah.
Right. With that, I would take one question that has come, which is not directly linked to ABDM, but it talks about this whole issue of coverage for the middle class or the lower middle class, which has sort of come in between. So while there is a whole layer of coverage provided through the Ayushman Bharat scheme, and then you have maybe the organized sector getting coverage through corporates or buying on their own, and the say top layer. But there is this whole thing about the missing middle that is being discussed in terms of coverage for insurance of health. So any scheme that is in the offing by the government for that in the future?
So missing middle, at least I would say that progress is that it has now occupied discussions, right? There is policymakers are discussing it, public is discussing it, insurance companies are discussing it. So I think it has brought forth the need for covering missing middle. I think that's the first progress that all of us should pat ourselves that has happened. Now coming to, since I work with NHA, like from the NHA perspective, like ABDM is one public good, PMJ ecosystem is another public good created by NHA for use by anyone who would like to make use of it for a more efficient ecosystem, right?
Right.
Today NHA is not offering insurance. Okay, you come to me and I will insure you. You pay me the PMJ premium and I will insure you. But it has opened its platform to the insurance companies to offer a PMJ clone product using the package hospital network IT platform of PMJ, and offer a very economically priced product to the missing middle. Basically, the missing middle has two or three characteristics. They are very difficult to reach pockets of India. Affordability is an issue, right? So if we look at the affordability and ease of buying, ease of aggregating, so what NHA has started this missing middle pilots with the insurance companies, that you aggregate, since it will be too premature to offer on an individual basis because of adverse selection. So groups of people, uninsured people, members of NGOs or a rat pickers or any small traders, they could come together, buy a policy from ICICI Lombard or from any other company, and the company could ride on PMJ ecosystem and offer a PMJ clone product at a much cheaper cost than even your Arogya Sanjeevani or even your cheapest product maybe. Because of
Right.
this, because of the simple reason that PMJ is able to keep the claims cost very low. Because I think the whole issue about not being able to offer a very low cost product is because of the claims cost being, out of the hands of the insurance company, right? So if because of PMJ, if you can do that, you have a opportunity of doing that. Rest is, digital ecosystem. All that, of course, you still would require would be, somebody to aggregate those groups. And so maybe, those brokers or, those NGOs can, help insurance companies in doing it. Presently, these are the pilots that are going on for missing middle. I understand few of the state governments like Rajasthan or Himachal, they also offer to the common public, to pay the premium of 800 or 900 or whatever rupees and get a similar cover. So that experiment is also started by a couple of states. These two things are aware, and I'm sure as the discussion progresses, there would be many more, pilots, many more experiments to how to cover this missing middle. But NHA from its side is very keen to partner with insurance companies in making it happen, let's say. Yeah.
Right. Just coming to the close, ma'am, one last question from my side would be that, and this is specific to the backbone that is getting created. We've had a challenge in this country regarding medical protocols and clinical pathways in terms of having our own standards and version that can be used interoperably across providers, across insurers, and across the ecosystem. Uh, and also with a view to have some kind of outcome based incentives even in healthcare, which is now taken shape in some of the Western markets, where outcomes are becoming very, very important in the way the whole system works. So any thought process on that as far as ABDHM is concerned?
So ABDM along with PMJ definitely would help the, PMJ has already developed standard treatment guidelines, right? So guidelines for most of the procedures. So I think a very base level of compliance at the level of treating doctor will start happening, because if you have to claim a procedure, you have to follow certain guidelines, and those guidelines haven't been made by NHA. They have been developed by the top medical professionals of that, specialty, cardiologist, oncology. I mean, they have been made, and public private doctors together. It's not that only public hospital doctors were there in those committees. The best of the the highest of the specialist doctors were there from any of the institutions. So they have developed these guidelines, and those guidelines have been kind of inbuilt into PMJ IT system. Now the ABDM system would actually pick from there and make it available to everyone also, that, so that there will be a wider dissemination of the of the same in this. Plus the outcome based, I'm not sure whether outcome based we are reached there as yet. But the next payment reform, let us say we call it payment reforms internally in NHA, is the DRG based payments. So it is not exactly that not every patient is at the same level of sickness or same level of chronic ailments or comorbidities. So you also factor into account the complexities of a case, and a case makes kind of a you make it DRG based payments which are more scientific. So along with STG, if we are able to incorporate DRGs, we may be in a more progressive way reaching outcome based, maybe still the next step. Though in PMJ we do ask we call every beneficiary after 15 days, how is his health, whether health improved or may not improve. So that is, but outcome based payments, I think maybe a little time to go there. Yeah, time, a little while we'll be there. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. I think that's been very, very, helpful and very, very wide-ranging topics. But the ease and comfort with which you've been able to navigate us through that's really heartening. With that, I'll hand it over to Anvesha.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Jain. And ma'am, this was wonderful. I thoroughly enjoyed your session, and it was such an educating session, right from adoption to implementation and covering so many aspects of the insurance piece of ABDM. So thank you so much. Let me just
My pleasure.
express my gratitude on behalf of entire Nat Health for coming on this platform to educate all of us on the subject. And thank you, Mr. Jain, for agreeing to moderate the session. You have been wonderful here. I would also like to express my my thanks to the Avian and Health Biz team who have been there to provide back-end support. Move on, I would actually express my special thanks to Mr. Praveen Gedam and the entire Energate team for collaborating with us and guiding us for this initiative. I would also like to express my gratitude to all the participants for the session and their questions. And in case we were not able to answer your questions today due to some time constraints, please be assured that we will be answering all your questions on our blog, nathealthseries.com. So please follow our YouTube channel, like and subscribe us. And we will be back in the first week of Jan to cover yet another aspect of Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission with another speaker. And so I also wanted to wish you everybody a very happy New Year and Merry Christmas. All of you, please enjoy your vacation. Until then, bye-bye and take care. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And really thank you to Amitabh and Anvesha, Kaustav, and all others. Amitabh was very, polite to me, asked me relatively easy questions, I would say, which I could, manage well. Thank you very much. Right. My pleasure. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.